Good morning, everyone. Sorry, can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So, good morning. I am Asbi. I am the Chief Operational Officer at SolveStation, and I'll be taking the introduction to our first AI agents introductory session. So, imagine you have an amazing idea, very amazing idea, but somehow it just sits there. Sorry, let me share my screen. Um. Okay. Yeah, I can share my screen. Okay. So imagine you have a very amazing idea, but then somehow you can't do anything because you don't have the resources and everything you need to bring it to life. That can be very, very frustrating. And that's exactly why we have SolveStation. We help people to move from learning to building, then to succeeding. So what we do at SolveStation is we empower individuals and business to turn ideas into real world impact. So SolveStation is a tech innovation company that help people move from learning to building to succeeding. Uh, that those are the three key things we do, but it's very it's more than that. We do more than just learning to building to succeeding. So we empower individuals and business to turn their ideas into real world impact. So to make this happen, we've structured SolveStation into three major divisions. So we have the labs, and lab means learning. So we have the labs. So what we do at labs is learning, and it's our learning and innovation hub. And this is where we host our mentorship sessions, like the one we're going to do today currently. It's one of the things we do at labs. So what we do is we host workshops, we do mentoring sessions, and we teach people how to build products, both with AI, web development. We have product design and project management. So basically, at labs, what we do there is to experiment and fail fast safely, because it's better to fail in a safe environment than fail in an unsafe environment. So we have SaaS. At SaaS, we help companies, startups, upcoming products to build their idea. So a lot of people have idea, but they don't have the technical expertise to turn the idea into real world solution. So that's what we do at Labs. So you can bring the idea to us, and then we turn your ideas into the real world solution. And we have consulting. So startups that already have their products can consult with us, because we have experienced developers, experienced engineers in the whole software space that can help to automate your workflow and scale them using technology. So we take your messy process and make them smooth. And these all three divisions make the all full cycle of SolveStation platform, which I had stated earlier: learning, building, and making impact. So some of our success stories currently, we have 50 plus students, both CWS students. We have CWS students doing their hands-on experience, because what CWS is all about is to gain hands-on experience on the theoretical things you've been taught in the university. So we've been able to give them the real world experience they need to have based on the theoretical things they've been taught in the university. We have over 50 students that are learning currently, that are learning. We have the CWS students, then we have those that are learning, just learning software development. But because we have the SaaS, they can always gain hands-on experience after learning, because knowledge, if you gain knowledge without practicing them, it's as good as not knowing anything, because in the real tech world, it is those experience that you gain that would help you to fly and then get opportunities in the bigger companies. So just imagine you spent 8 hours on repetitive work. You spent 8 hours, and out of those 8 hours, you spent 5 hours surfing the internet, doing all sort of things, prompting AI. And that's exactly where our automation comes in. So automated 70% of some startup works. So we turn their messy process into a streamlined process where with just a single click, everything gets done and automated. And we've actively collaborate with several companies, help them gain publicity, gain experience, teach their kids software engineering and development. We've been able to gain partnerships across several industries. And now we are hosting a workshop. We are hosting this AI agentic AI workshop for theoretical practice. So what a lot of people know is the theory aspect, but now we are bringing the practical aspect to you. And personally, AI should not be just something you read about on Twitter or Instagram or somewhere. It is something you can always build with and learn, gain an hands-on experience. And that's exactly what we're going to be putting you through today at SolveStation. And our goal for this workshop is very simple: move you from your curiosity to capability. So everyone is curious. How does agentic AI works? And that's exactly what we'll be giving you. So by the end of today, you will know how to build your very first AI agent using tools you are familiar with, React and TypeScript. Just think of this whole workshop as a launch pad. Think of it as a launch pad. So it is just a place where you can try, test, and actually create. We are not fluffing here. We are putting you on the right track to gain actual experience on how to build your very first agentic AI. So moving on to the next slide. Like I had said earlier, what we do at SolveStation is to learn, apply, build, and succeed. So by learning, you gain hands-on and practical knowledge you can use. Then you apply them. Because we have SaaS, you can apply them on real world projects because we have SaaS where we build products for people. Then build, that's where you take the knowledge and turn it to a real world solution, the SaaS we are building for people. Then those skills is what makes you get the whole experience to be able to work at the big tech space, Nvidia, Google, and the likes. And that's just the core of SolveStation, to empower builders to take action. So we'll be moving on to the next part where you would be empowering you to build your very first agentic AI. But before we jump to that, um, I'm just going to let you know. I just gave you this introduction to know what SolveStation is all about, because after this whole session, you can be interested in joining us to gain more experience aside what we'll be taking you through today. But I kid you not, whatever we'll be taking you through today, it's a start and a launch pad to your agentic AI career. Thank you. So Awal can take it from here.
Thank you very much for that wonderful session. So, how are we all doing? Just are doing fine. So I just want to give me a moment to share my screen. So now, my colleague here, my colleague here told us what substation is about, what we do at substation, the values we drive at substation. So I'll be doing a quick demo of our application. Currently, we have the version 1 out. So now we are done building the version 2. So I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek of what the version 2 looks like. Just give me a minute to share my screen. So while I'm trying to share my screen, my name is Mohammed Awal. What drives our association? I'm part of the people who assist businesses to bring out their goals. So we help them bring their solutions to life and also mentor the next generation of people. So I started this before. Let's see. So just give me some fellow. I don't know if my friend.
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So give me a moment. So But I'm sure we had the version maps out. Well, we received some feedbacks which we worked on to improve the system because we had SolveStation. We value our students' feedback. So part of these feedbacks were used to build version 2. So in SolveStation Labs. Yeah, is this clear now? Hello, can you hear me right now?
Yes, yes. It's perfect.
Yeah, thank you. So as I was saying, SolveStation Labs, where you learn, you apply, you build, and you succeed. So one of the advantages of this system is you have your classes online. It's 100% online. But what happens when I can't meet a class? Your classes are being recorded. You are able to come up to your portal. So even after the classes, you still have access to the recordings, which is online, which is unlike physical classes. Because your physical classes, once you miss the class, you don't have a way to roll back. But here, so you don't need the details of the particular course. It's just to come into the system. That is an option. So it's coming to the system to check the everything in the course. I can see what this course entails to really the basis. That's the way it is to do, and it will be done. So let's say there's a coupon code. Because one of the advantages of our system is to provide coupon codes. So you don't even need to be on the system for it to get your coupon code. You use it as a source of reward. So let's say this is a particular coupon code I have. Don't try this to do something to be valid though. But this is a particular coupon code I have. So when I apply this particular coupon code, you can see it is a 10% off coupon code. So 10% is taken off the original price. 10% is taken off the original price. So I can choose to pay now. So for you to see how seamless it is, I'm gonna just give me 1 minute and coming. Let me just, this is how this is going to flow. Please, if you have any questions, you can, if you have any questions, please, you can keep it. There will be a time for Q&A. So it's going to be pretty soon. So there'll be a time for Q&A. So we'll answer your questions then. So now let's start. I know this is all we all came here for today, so let's start. I'm sure we've all tried. I'm sure we've all tried to apply for jobs online. Then the job description, when it comes to the job description, you see lots of things. You see AWS, you see G-Cloud, you see Azure, you see like 30 different things for let's say for a JavaScript role or for a junior developer role. But when you get to the actual job, it might be just Python in the day, or in this case, just Excel. So now, today's today's webinar is about building your first agent with TypeScript and React. So for the duration of this webinar, if time permits, we're building about 4 different agents. So those 4 different agents will be ranging from the absolute beginner to something worth production. So that we are going to be building 2 things worth production. And also you have access to the source code. It will be hosted on our GitHub. You have access to clone it and modify it. So building your first agent with TypeScript and React. Hope you are all excited. Hope you are all excited. So now, the content. So meet the architects, my captain. So I architect distributed systems, cloud solutions, and AI-powered applications. So one of my specialties is TypeScript, C#, and Python, and building enterprise-grade platforms, including fintech and payment systems. You have SolveStations. These are examples of some applications we build via SolveStations. So who am I? I'm a passionate poet, and I believe in elegant code. Because the mirror poetry both demand precision, creativity, and soul. So the creator of RxMP AI drug direction checker. So now the foundational choices. So why are we using React and TypeScript? One, we are using React because of the component usability, the demand for React, the virtual DOM, and the vast ecosystem. I can bet you, if you are to gather 10 front-end developers, 9.9 out of those 10 developers uses React. 9.9 out of them uses React. I'm wondering, how is it possible at 9.9? Because that person that is writing another thing is also writing React. That's just how it is. So now, why TypeScript? We're using TypeScript because of the type safety, literally because of the type safety. Because the JavaScript is very fault tolerant, let me put it that way. But React gives an edge over that. What do I mean by fault tolerant? So as we proceed to the version of this webinar, we learn about what I mean by fault tolerance. So let's talk about some AI essentials. So AI. I'm sure we all know what AI is. So AI stands for artificial intelligence. AI stands for artificial intelligence. So what does artificial intelligence mean? You're talking about machines. You're talking about machines that have the ability to what? To reason. But there are popular opinions going on in the market now. We haven't truly achieved something called AGI. AGI stands for, when we talk about AGI, that is, you are trying to mimic the human brain precisely. You are trying to mimic it precisely. AI hasn't gotten to that level yet. It hasn't gotten to that level of reasoning yet. Because currently we still need what? Vast amount of data to train our systems. So it is not truly dependent. So AI performs machine human-like tasks. So under AI, you have a subdivision under AI called machine learning. So machine learning, when we are talking about machine learning, you are trying to use different algorithms to predict. You are trying to predict what? Syntaxes. What do I mean by syntaxes? I'm talking about patterns. You are trying to predict patterns occurring from a what? From a data set. So what is the data set? I want you to think of a data set like a book. Think of it like a book that has everything you need pertaining to what you're trying to solve. For example, an example data set is, let's talk about an hospital record. You have a data set of an hospital that entails the patients that have, let's use a common disease, diabetes. So that data set contains people that have diabetes and people that don't have diabetes. So we use machine learning to do what? To analyze that data. You analyze the data to do what? To figure out patterns that will have taken us humans years to figure out. One of those patterns is, oh, this particular patient is 20 years old. Oh, this is his diet. He has diabetes. Oh, this particular patient is 20 years old. This is his diet. He does not have diabetes. So the AI is able to predict using what? Using those features it's giving it. And by features, think of like those divisions. Oh, the age of the patient, the diet of the patient. It's able to predict using those features to get your what? Your predictions, which is your what? Your diabetes. Your person have diabetes or the person doesn't have diabetes. So the person has diabetes. Yeah, he's able to know that, okay, based on the current training I've been doing, whenever I see this thing, and this person is also age, the probability that person has diabetes is what? Is 70%. That is why there is no system. We have no AI system that is 100% accurate. No AI system is 100% accurate. No system is 100% accurate. So why am I working on through these AI jargons? Because it is essential for us to understand AI agents. Because without this, we won't be able to understand how AI systems work. So now, NLP. Some of us might have come across it on our WhatsApp status or Instagram. So NLP stands for Natural Language Processing. So it's just a way of you communicating with AI using your what? Your natural language. It can be English, it can be your natural language might be mathematics, it might be chemistry, it might be Yoruba, it might be Hausa. So I'm not sure if there's someone in Nigeria currently, Said, who is the student of Unilag. He built an AI system. That uses Yoruba. You can communicate with it using Yoruba. So this is one of the possibilities you can do with AI. No, there is no rule that says AI has to be written in English. You just communicate with AI in English. No. You can use Hausa, you can use Igbo, you can use Korea. anyone to communicate with your AI systems. So now, what are LLMs? You've all seen LLMs. You've all used LLMs before. Your ChatGPT is an LLM. Your Gemini is an LLM. Your Claude is an LLM. Your Grok AI is an LLM. You have dozens of LLMs you can use. So what are LLMs? LLMs are trained on what? On massive. They train it on massive amount of data. So they're able to what? To predict the next code. So these are what LLMs are. So for this course, the LLM we'll be using for this course is called Gemini. I'm sure you've all heard of Gemini now, your Google Gemini. So why are we using Gemini? The major reason we're using Gemini is Google is so generous to give us access to Gemini API key without having to pay a single dime. Unlike ChatGPT OpenAI, which what we're trying to minimize here is we're trying to minimize the cost. So with this, you are going to spend as little as €0 because everything, all the tools you are using at work, they are free. That is how wonderful the internet is. So now, what is an agent? So an agent is an autonomous system that perceives, reasons, and acts independently. So the system does what? It is able to act. It reasons. Unlike ChatGPT now. Yes, ChatGPT has become so wonderful to the case that it is able to reason for you. ChatGPT is able to reason for you. It has become so wonderful that it is able to reason for you. We have your think feature to tell you that your AI is thinking. So now, enough of these jargons. Let's start the actual system we came here for. So let's start the actual system we came here for. So what we're building in this particular course, we are going to be building four different AI agents. We are going to start from the ground up to our next system, which will be using tools, to our next one, which will be a RAG. I know you might not know what a RAG is, but yeah, we say once you get there, we'll learn what RAG is. To our final system, which is something called studybody.ai. Once we get to that boot, we will cross it. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I have your attention. So now, let's start the actual coding process. So for us to be able to code, we are going to be needing some particular tools. The first tool we'll be using is our Gemini API key. We need the Gemini API key to be able to communicate with our Gemini. So how do you get your Gemini API key? Just go to Google AI Studio. It's that simple. Google AI Studio. So I'm going to give me a moment to change my account. So I'm going to walk us through how to set up the account. We go to Google AI Studio. So as you can see, start building it is the first result you see. It's the first result you see. So this is the first time I'm opening Google AI Studio here. So it is telling me to accept some terms and conditions. So I have read the terms and conditions. You can also read the terms and conditions. So continue. It is that easy. So now you can see the first page you brought me to was what? My API keys. As it stands, I have the API key. So how do I create an API key? I come here, I click this button. So you can name it. You can name it whatever you like. So I can call this webinar. So now it's telling me to select a cloud project. So one of the updates Google AI Studio made was they introduced your cloud project. So they're telling you that your API key has to be part of the cloud project. So it's very easy. You can just click a cloud project. You just give it any name you want. So let's call it our webinar cloud project. So while this is creating, it has created the project. So I've selected the project here. So please, while this is going on, can anyone see my screen? Let me confirm. Can anyone see my screen? Yes, thank you. So now once you click this button, it's going to create your key for you. So I'm not going to do that here now because it is going to expose my key to you guys and I don't want you guys to see my key. But once you just want to click this button, then you look to your API key. Then you can copy that. So I'm not going to create it here now because if I'm to create it now, you will be able to see my key. And this is currently being live streamed. So I'm trying to avoid that. So now the next thing you need is what? We are going to be using LangChain. We're going to be using LangChain. So what is LangChain? So LangChain provides a set of tools that allows us to do what? To create AI agents. You have thousands of tools like this. Even Google as it stands, they just created their own tool, which is called your ADK, your Agent Development Kit. But LangChain is a popular tool that's been in the market and it has gotten a wide adoption. Different people use LangChain. That's how we'll be learning LangChain here. So now, so just give me a moment to perform some magic. Give me a moment to perform some magic. So let me see my code editor. Yes, the code is being recorded. You don't expect it to code as I code. So once, even the source code I'm going to be using, you guys have access to it. So you can go to the source code. So now this is my code editor. So you can see we are starting from the ground up. So the first thing I want us to do, I want us to create a new TypeScript project. So how do I create a new TypeScript project? So I'm going to run npm. For this, I'm not using npm. I'm actually using pnpm. So pnpm. So let me make this bigger so you can see it. So pnpm init. So what does this do? Sorry, pardon me. Let me open a folder. Let me open a folder so as to make this. So let me create a new folder. So let me call this workshop. I'm going to select that folder. I'm going to select that folder. So now let's get rid of this. So I have the bare minimum. So now let's get started. So the first command you'll be running is we are going to analyze the root project. You need to initialize the new project. So I'm going to initialize it using what pnpm. So pnpm init. So as you can see, this created a new file for me called package.json file. So under here now you can see this is just the bare minimum, nothing too special. So I'm going to paste in some things here now. So we don't waste too much time with different versions. So I'm going to paste in some things here now. Just give me a moment. So as you can see what I just pasted here now, that just dependencies will be used and commands. So by dependencies, I want us to think of dependencies like tools. Tools will be using to what? To be the AI agents. So we're using LangChain core. Then we're also using what? LangChain, the Google what? The Google Gemini. So this allows us to use what? The actual Gemini, the Gemini to what? To write our, to communicate with our LLMs. So then we are going to be using .env to what? To load our environment variables. So that's that. So the next thing, I want to create a new folder. I'm going to call that folder what? My source folder. And I'm going to create a new file called my what? My .env file. Called my .env file. So in this env file, this is where you put your secrets, your API secrets, your API keys, and the likes. So this is where you put your secrets. So yeah, I'm going to put my actual secrets here, but I'm not going to show you guys. So this is going to be your Google API key. So you're going to put the API key we created, you're going to paste it here. So the next thing we'll do now is I'm going to create a file now. So I'm going to call that file config. But before I continue, I noticed I need to walk you guys through some theories. But from the theory, we are going to get on it practically. So now let me share my presentation again so you can see how that is. So I'm going to share my presentation now. So now here are some concepts you need to know. I know this might look a bit much. Trust me, I just diagrammers. Let me just put that way. Once you actually start using them, then you start to figure out that this is just English. It's not. It is just English. What you need is actual what the actual practical. But we need to understand this English, not verbatim. But we need to know what they are. So the first thing we need to know is what a state. So by state, because some of us here on this call that we've heard of state before, we know state. You're basically talking about your what your data. But in this case, your state is your what? Your data structure. It does what? It holds the current information and context for the entire application. So I want you to think of this state like a what? Your shared memory. So it's like a whiteboard. And by whiteboard, I mean it has everything your AI agent needs. When you have multiple agents, your multiple agents can do what? They can manipulate the states. They can write on that what? On that same whiteboard. So it's like you having what? A single source of truth. The next thing now is what? You have your node or your node. So your node are what? They are individual functions. Things like what? Functions that perform a what? A specific task. They're like a what? Your point. This particular node, it does this task. This one does this task. So it's like a what? Your assembly line. You can have many nodes together and join them together. So your graph is your what? Your structure that maps out all nodes are what? They are connected and executed, defining the workflow. Your graph talks about how your nodes communicate with each other. Your edges. So your edges are what? Your actual tracks. Think of it like your race track or your train tracks. So that's where your decision point is. Then you have your start and end points. For some of us here that are familiar with what we call there's something called your flow charts. So in your flow charts, you have your starting point, and you have your end points. So when you are building AI agents, you need to tell your agents your starting point, and you need to tell it your end points. You have your tools and your tool nodes. So what are tools? Tools are what? They are features your LLMs don't come with. For example, now, if I wanted to know the weather where I am now, I'm currently in Lagos State. If I wanted to know the weather, your traditional LLM might not be able to tell me this is the particular weather. Although due to some improvements now, you can actually tell ChatGPT that what is the current weather location for this. Yes, you can tell ChatGPT now. But there are some AI agents or some LLMs that they can't do that. So use your tools to what? To extend the ability of your LLMs. An example of a tool you can have is you can have something like, let's say we are building an AI agent for a particular company, and that company has some sensitive information, some sensitive data. So I can have a particular tool that can do what? That can retrieve it, whether communicating to my database or reading from a file. And no LLM can communicate to that file because it is a local file. So you can create such tools to do what? To talk with those files or talk with your database. You have your message types. So your message types, you have primarily two message types. You have your email message and your AI message. So your AI message is the response your AI is feeding back. While your email message is the input you are giving it, so the inputs and the outputs. So now these are some theories I want to familiar with. So now let's start the actual coding process. Let's start the actual coding process. So now the first thing I want us to do is, I've been talking about state. What is state? What exactly is state? As I said earlier, a state is just your what? When you talk about state, a state is just your data structure. That is like a shared whiteboard. It's like a shared whiteboard for your LLMs or for your agents. It's like a shared whiteboard for your LLMs or your agents. So now let's create the actual states. For me to create the actual states, I'm going to create a new folder here. I'm going to call the folder my models. So under my models, I'm going to create a new file. Let me call it my types.txt. So this txt is telling TypeScript that this is a TypeScript file. That is what txt is saying. So let me disable some extensions so there's not confuse us. Why is this thing hiding now? Extensions. So my copilots, I want to disable copilots. Because sometimes the intelligence, the auto suggestions, it feels real. So let's disable. So that's been disabled now. So now for my types now, the first type I want to create is something called the first type I'm creating is it's the actual state. I need to create the actual state. That's the first type I'm making. So it's just going to be your what? Your simple class. That's what your type is. It's going to be your simple class. It's your simple class. So let me create the state. So export interface. So I'm going to call it my what? My conversation state. So this is the state of my conversation. So this is an interface. So it is going to have my what? My interface is going to have my messages because for the first agent to are building results, are going to be the simple chat LLM, the simple chat LLM to solidify the words, the foundational concepts. So this is conversation. So I need to create the message because you need to have your message. So your message is going to have your role. So in this case, is this person communicating with me? Is the person a user or is the person a what? An assistant? The next thing, the actual content of the message, which is of type what? String. The content of the message and the timestamp. When was the message what? When was the message sent? When was the message sent? So now my conversation state is going to hold what? Because you remember what I said in state is I said it's like a shared whiteboard where all the agents communicate with each other. So the agents need to know about what? They need to know about all the messages. So it's going to be an array of just a simple array of what? Of messages. My agent needs to know what? They need to know the messages, all the messages we've had. Also, there needs to be a way for them to know whether the conversation result is active or not. So this is going to be a type of what? Of boolean. Is my conversation active or not? Then the context. So the context is the actual what? The current topic or the context. So this is just going to be what? Is string because it's just a string. So this is just going to be a string. So now there is something I want us to have now. It's going to be called our agent, our chat config. So the configuration for our chat, or you can call it your chain config. So by this, I'm talking about the what? Different temperature. So the temperature I'm talking about in this case is not how hot your body is. So when we talk about temperatures in LLMs, it ranges from what? From 0 to 1. Temperature. Don't I know how to spell again. Temperature is of type number. That's the temperature. You have your what? Your maximum tokens. The maximum tokens, which is of type number. Then you have your what? Streaming. Streaming, which is boolean. So now, let me take this again. So when the chain config is going to configure my what? My LLM. Is actually setting the what? The configuration. So when I talk about temperature now, this temperature is for what? It's for response generation. It's not how hot my body is or how hot the LLM is. ChatGPT has malaria, so Gemini has malaria. No. It is telling me the response I want to receive. So it is within the range of, the temperature is within the range of what? Of 0 to 1.0. So when you use 0 means what? The response I'm going to be getting from the LLM is going to be the same. It's not going to change it. So 0 means what? It is static. It's what it has been generated to keep on generating. So there are some particular systems you might need to have a what? A temperature of 0. While there are some, you might need to want a level of creativity. So you might set 0.7 to 0.8. So it means your response you are getting back from the LLM is going to what? It's going to be different. It's going to be different from what? Each time. Each time you call the API, the response will be different. So that's what the temperature does. So now your tokens is the what? The maximum tokens to generate. I'm talking that you are talking with ChatGPT. If you get to a particular stage, ChatGPT the range you got to be exceeded to tell you whether you want to click on your continue button or not, because everything needs to have a limit. So now you're streaming. So this streaming now, I introduced it here because we'll be using it in our final project. So streaming is just like your YouTube or your Netflix or your Hulu, your GoTV app. So when you stream something, it means what I'm streaming it as it is coming, as the response is coming. I'm displaying it straight. That is what your ChatGPT does. You notice that when ChatGPT is typing, it will type something like this. It is typing like this. It is streaming. It is not that the AI will finish thinking first. It will not give you everything at once. No, it doesn't work that way. So ChatGPT change your response. So this is the actual types we'll be having. So the next thing I want to do now, I want to set my actual configuration. So let me create a new folder. Let me call it my what? My config. So here now a new file forward, my config.txt. So here is going to have my what? My actual configuration. The configuration for my what? For my LLM. By now, LLM, large language model. Which LLM are we using? We're using what? Gemini. So export constant, because it's a constant feed. So config. So I want to create a new config. So it's going to be an object. So the model name I'm using. So this model name, we have about 5 different models. We have about 5 different models. So let me show you the different types of. So it doesn't look like I memorized it. Let me show you guys how to actually get your model. Let's say just in case you want to see your model. So for me to get my actual models now, I can just search it on Google. Gemini models. I can search it on Google. So you can see. So these are the different Gemini models you have. You have your Gemini 2.5 Pro. You have your Gemini 2.5 Flash. Your Gemini 2.5 Flash Lite. Your 2.50 Flash. 2.50 Flashlight. No flashlight that used to on it. So these are the different models you have that Gemini has currently. So before we had Gemini 1.5, but that's been cleared out. So everything starts on what? 2.0. So when you expand your information, you can learn more about it. These are the capabilities. You can see this one cannot generate audio. It cannot generate images. It cannot search. The 2.0 flashlight. But if I'm to go to the what? The 2.0 Pro. So from the what? Pro Max, iPhone 17 Pro Max. You can see it cannot generate audio. It cannot generate caching, function calling an image. So if you want to actually generate images, you need to call your Nano Banana API. So your Nano Banana is what Google uses to generate images. But you can see this one can actually think. Thinking can allow you to think. But for this thing, it is good to use Gemini 2.5 Pro, but it takes time. What do I mean by it takes time? Because of the thinking and all those stuff. Sometimes I don't want you to think. I want you to just give me what I ask you to give me. So for this course, we're using Gemini 2.5 Flash because I've tested out all the. Sorry, you're using Gemini 2.0 Flash because this faster. I noticed it was faster than the previous versions. So how do I use it? You just want me to copy the words, the model name. This is the model name. I can just copy the model name. So now let's go back to our code base. Let's go back to our code base. So the model name in this case is what? Is Gemini 2.50 Flash. I copied. The next thing, what was the next thing? The next thing is the temperature. The temperature we are using. So temperature. So in this case, I want to use a temperature of 0.7. I want you to at least, I want to give it creativity that don't be too creative, but at least be creative also. So now the maximum token, the max tokens. The max tokens, I want it to be 1,000. Once it exceeds 1,000, you start generating. So now I'm going to make this start. Then you stop that. So now there is something I want to now do now. I want to create like a validator to validate our environment. So because sometimes as developers, we often forget to do some validations. One important validation we need here is what our API key. Our API key is very, very, very important. Because without the API key, you'll not be able to what? You'll not be able to talk to what? To Gemini. So let me create a function that validates our words. It validates our environment. So let me call it validate environment. So this is going to be a void. I don't want it to join it. I don't want it to just do what to run. So I'm going to run an if statement. So there is a way for me to get my actual environment. So if what the process dot env dot google. So what did we call our env? We called it what Google API key. So let me paste. If this do not processing instruction, if process, yes, it is only red now, but we'll fix it later. If the process, if I can't find the key, so I want to throw an error. So throw new error. Google, oh, let me just use it. Google environment variable is required. So I'm going to call this validate environment function. I'm going to call it before I start my actual code. Because without this, the code will not work, it will not run. So the next thing I want us to do is I want to install our packages. If you look by the actually add these packages, because this is like I want it to like a base template, so you have these packages you'll be using. So I want to install it. So I install it using what? PNPM what? Install. So using PNPM install is going to install all what we need. It's going to install all what we need. You can see it is downloading. So let's see how long it takes to download. It has finished downloading. You can see these are some of the dependencies it installed. If you notice something here, it's telling me I'm using version 0.2.36 and it's not telling me that 1.0.1 is available. Why am I using this? I'm using this simply because this version 1.0.1, they just released it of October. The version was just released this October. Then based on the experience I've had so far with new releases, it's not safe for you to just do what? To migrate to a new version like that. Why the old version is still working. So once the new version, so by version, a package is just like, some people have written this code already. Permit me to use my mother tongue. They've written it for us. So it's just us to do what? To download that code. So we don't need to rewrite the exact same thing. So the line chain is an example of such too. So they're not saying that the version that I have is what 0.2.36, but the latest version that is available is what 1.0.1. So what I'm now trying to explain is that this 1.0.1, you just got released. They just launched it this October. And based on the advice I can give, it is not advisable to do what? To just jump to a new system like that. What they just, you're in October now, and they just released that in October. Yes, if you are building, let's say if you are trying to explore it, yes, you can use it. But if you are trying to build like production-ready applications, it's not advisable. Even if they tell you that it is advisable, it is not advisable. You wait for a while. You wait for like, let's say, 2 to 3 months when people have started adopting it before you now what you use it. The next package I installed is what? The Google Gemini. So this Google Gemini, it is another tool that will allow us to use what? The Google Gemini. To allow us to communicate with what? The Google Gemini LLM. Then this .env now, it will allow me to use what? My environment variable. And the environment variable I'm talking about in this case is what? My env file. This one now, this API key is generated. It will allow me to do what? To use it. You people cannot use my API key. This is not my API key. I'm not giving my API key. Go and generate one. I've taught you how to generate your API key. So the next package I installed is what? Is launching. Then these are some dev dependencies I have. So I'm sure a lot of these things might be confusing at first, but trust me, this is just time to get familiarized. We are familiarizing ourselves with some concepts. By the time we did our next agent, this is the first agent we are doing. The time we did our second agent, you see that Actually, this thing is not even hard. It's just grammar that just written everywhere. So now, you can see this is no longer unneeded. The next thing I want to do now is what? I want to create my logger. Let me create my logger account. So this is going to be my utils folder slash logger logger.txt. So I'm trying to introduce you guys to some clean code principles. So this my logger, don't worry too much about it. Because it's not that important for this application. It's just for me to. So this is an enum. I'm creating an enum. So for the log level, so let's say info. So one is equal to one. What's up? We have error, just in case you have an error. It's equal to an error. And we have your debug. Debug is equal to what? Your debug. So this is an enumerated type. So I want to use this one out to. So this logger is going to like it's going to be something I'll be calling when I want to print out something, display something. But I want it to be structured. So let me create a new class. So export class. So I'm going to call it logger. To some TypeScript engineers on this store, they don't use classes. Please just try to use classes. I'm a huge fan of OOP. So this is a static class. So I'm going to call this one format. I want to use this one to format the message. Great. So maybe so that I don't stress you guys too much, because as I said, this is not really important. This part is not really important. So I'll give you guys this code. So I've documented this properly for you guys. So I'll just walk you through the code. So this for formatting look at this formats the messages. So it takes in the level, the current level, then it takes in the message and data if there's any data. Then it does what is string. So this timestamp, I'm currently the current time, I mean, the entry of the log, the timestamp, the level, the message, then I'm returning a JSON file. So this one also, if I want to log an info, if I want to log if I want to log an error, if I want to debug, you can see console.log, console.log. In some languages, you have your console.write line. In some, you have your print statement. So now let's start the actual agents. So let me create a new folder here. I'm sorry if I'm wasting too much of your time, but I just want to make sure you have the foundational concepts. Services. So I'm going to call this my LangChain services.txt. LangChain service.txt. So here now, this is the actual LangChain service. So let me create a new class. So export class LangChain. So let's call this LangChain service. So this is going to take some properties. So it's going to need your LLM, the LLM you're using. So let me put it on type only for now. Then it's going to take your conversational state, your state. And remember what I call the states. I said your state is your whiteboard, your shared whiteboard, which all your agents communicate with. So your conversation state. So this is going to be your conversation state. Why is this complaining? It's because it's only ever used. Don't worry about that. So your constructor. So permit me to speed code all this part. So your chat Google Journey. I'm using the chat Google Journey. So it's going to take in some things. It's going to take your model name. So what's my model name? You remember the config I created. Config. This config dot model name. Or the temperature. What's the temperature? What's my temperature? My temperature. My temperature is what? My config dot temperature. Then my max output tokens is what? My config dot max tokens. So I'll set up my LLM. So the next thing for me to set up is my what? My actual conversation state. And this is just Not going to be an empty array. The message is an empty array. Then the active, yes, this is active. I'm active. So I'm not going to use my logger, the logger I created now. My logger.info. I'm not going to say that service is activated. Service is what? Up and active, up and active. So that's that. So now I'm going to create a private method here. I'm going to call it my create prompt template. So this is going to be from prompt templates. So by these prompt templates, I'm sure some of us here have heard of the word prompt engineering before. So we use prompt engineering a lot when we are building AI agents. So the model does not go out of context. An example of the prompt you can give an AI is that you're an AI agent. I want you to do what? To do all these particular things using this set of things. Anytime any person asks you to do something that is not what you can do, tell them you cannot do what you cannot do it. So that's a simple prompt. So for this case, I have the prompt copied somewhere, so I'm just going to paste the prompt now. So I'm going to paste the prompt now so I don't type too much. So you can see what's the prompt. The prompt is this. You are a Oku AI agent. Answer the following questions clearly and what? And concisely. So I'm going to pass you what? The previous conversation context, and I'm going to pass you what? The current conversation. I want you to give me what? Give me an answer. Give me an answer. So from now, I'm going to get on the what? A prompt template. A prompt template dot what? Dot from template. And what's my template? This is the template I created. Template. So now the next thing I want us to do is what? The chain, the actual chain itself. So this is going to go, let me call it execute simple chain. So now since this is your chatbot, so the question I'm going to pass in the question to it. Question, is this spelling correct? It's going to type string. Then the actual what? The config. Then remember we created what? The actual chain what? The chain config. So it is optional. So this is going to return the what? Let's see what's going on. So this is going to return a type of promise. It is going to promise me. It will promise me that it will return a what? A string. But the string is the what? The actual message. Okay, no wonder it's complaining. The string is the actual message. Okay, I'm coming. I want to make all this optional. Let me make all this optional so it does not complain. I want to make all those optional so it does not complain. So now let me say try catch here. Let me try something it does not work. I will not catch it. So our logger.info. So this is going to be executing. Why am I logging? I'm logging so we can see the actual step. Executing chain. Then what am I executing chain for? The question. What's the question you're asking? I'm going to log that. Let me use my semicolon. The next in the actual prompt. So I need to get the prompt. So what's the prompt? So the prompt is what? This dot create prompt template. I need to get the actual prompt which I've defined up here. This is the prompt which I've defined up here. So let me format this a bit so you can see it clearly. So I'm getting the actual prompt. So after getting the prompt, I'm going to give what? The context. So I need to give the context. So the context is simply what? This dot what? Dot build conversation context. You have not created that method yet, so I'm going to create it. Conversation context. So that's what the context is. So now I need a chain reaction, new LLM chain. So this is going to be actual what? My chain. So it's going to take like LLM. So let me do this way. So it's going to take LLM. To take the actual LLM and take my what? The prompt. My prompt engineer. Take So now I can see this is complaining, this is disturbing my code. So let's go and create that method. So it is even expecting a catch. So I'm going to create that method. So this is a private method. So let me call it a static. So I want that method to do what? To build my words, my conversational context. Then this is going to return the type of string. So now let's see. So I'm going to first check if the words, the current conversation, the conversation state, if this dot conversation state, but the message you have in my state, if the length is what? If the length is equal to if the length of my current if the length of my current conversation, my current messages, if the length is equal to what? The length is zero, but that means I'm just what? This is the first time I'm just starting my messages. So I'll return what? No what? No previous messages or no previous conversation. So I'm coming mapping the message. So what I want to map the message to, I want to return it in a more structured format. So the role of the person, message dot row, then the message the person actually sent. This is my words. My message dot content. CENT. So bear with me, I'm sure you are seeing a lot of red there. As developers, you don't need to be scared of red. Don't worry, red is part of life. Red is life. So coming, I should be able to see this. Okay. Let's do this. So I'm going to give you guys first by giving you guys this piece of code. So this is recording the conversations. So I'm going to give another one for updating the conversation. So sorry about the rush. We actually have a lot to cover today, so I'm trying to any code I see. So this is messages. So now this will few students complain again. So the execute simple chain now. So I'm taking my chain. I'm seeing the mistake I made. It is expecting the words. It is expecting an object. The pass it to it like this. So now I need to use the actual chain. So how do I use the actual chain? I need to get my results. So the chain is going to return the results. So it's going to be my words. I'm going to await it because it's going to go to the API to call it. Then chain dot do what? Chain dot call. I need to call. I'm calling it. Then I'm going to give you the question I want to call it with. I'm going to pass in what? The context, the current context you have. Then I'm going to pass in my words, my configuration. I'm going to pass my configuration to it. It's as simple as that. Then I can just take my response. My response is equal to my result dot what? The text. I'm going to be taking my text. Or in some cases, it might give me my what? My result dot what? Dot output response. Then I will now update my conversation state. So this dot update conversation state because I need to update the conversation state. So subsequent calls, you know what has been going on. Then I'll update it to my what? My response. Then finally I'll now tell you that logger dot info. It has finished doing what? Finish execution. It has finished running. Then I can return the what? The actual response. Return the actual response. So now what happens if an error occurs? So if an error occurs, well, now I'm just going to log it out. An error occurred. What do I do? So you tell it failed to execute. Then this is the error. I'm going to pass the error to as an error type. And I'm going to start telling what's the actual question that caused the error. So this part is going to take in an error. So from that, I'm going to throw the error. So throw new error. And let me just say something like an error code. So now, let's format this. So let me go through this code base with you guys together. So the first thing I did here is what? I created my LangChain service. So it is expecting what? My LLM, and it's expecting what? The conversational state. So this conversational state is the current what? The memory, the shared memory. The conversations it have, the messages it sends to it, and is it active? So now, when I'm initializing this, I'm creating a constructor. So in the constructor, I'm initializing what? A new LLM. I'm creating a what? A new chatbot. And the model name, I'm getting the model name from there. This is where I'm getting the model name from. So here also, I'm now creating a new conversation state. I'm setting it to empty. So yeah, I created my prompt. I used a bit of prompt engineering here. So it's going to tell the AI to answer my questions based on this set of things. So here now, I'm actually going to execute the actual LLM. So I'm creating my prompt, I'm creating the context. Then this chain now. So think of this chain like me doing what? My actual API call. So I'm passing my LLM to it, and I'm passing the prompt. So it's going to do what? It's going to inject this prompt into my LLM. It's just like me going to ChatGPT. I'm telling it, you are a coding assistant. Anytime I give you this code, give me the best possible production ready code. So this is what is happening here. Then the next thing, I'm going to call the chain. What will I call it with? I'll call it with my question and my context. Why am I calling it my context? Because my prompt depends on on the context and the question. And if you notice, I named this the exact same way. So it's going to infer that okay, question will go to question, context will go to context. So the response now, I'm going to return the response and I'm going to update my conversation state. Let me hope my screen is still visible. So I know we've done. I know a lot is currently flowing. So it might be quite convincing, but just give me a moment to solidify the concept to you guys. So now the actual code now. If you want to run the actual code now, let me create a new file. Let me call it my app.txt. My app.txt file. So now we've written most of the code logic. We've written most of the code logic. So now look at what is happening here. I created a main function. This is my entry point. So in my main function, I'm doing what? I'm validating my environment. Why am I validating my environment? I'm validating my environment simply because I want to make sure that you do what? This is what I want you to do. Look at what this function is doing. Let's go to my config. Let me the same way. That was the mistake I did. So why am I validating my environment? I'm validating my environment to check whether the API key is present or not. If it is not present, I cannot be allowed to run the application. So now the next thing I'm doing is what? I'm creating an object of my LangChain service, which is the service we created here. This LangChain service we created here. So I know currently as it stands, this service it's a lot because from this service, I'm creating my prompt, I'm injecting it, I'm trying to create a context so the AI knows what I'm trying to do. So you can see most of the work we've been doing since is in this service. This one is just the actual execution. So this look at some questions I'm trying to execute. So simple chain execution, Abi. What is TypeScript and why should developers use it? I'm passing it to my LLM chain. I'm passing the question at what is TypeScript, then I'm getting what the response. My second question also, can you give me a practical example of using it? If you notice, if I'm to pass this thing to something like ChatGPT now, ChatGPT will tell me that what do I mean by it? But because I've already told you that what is TypeScript and why should developer use it, it will infer that, oh, by it, I'm talking about what? The first thoughts, the first case scenario. So for now, let me comment out this example for now. So let's run the actual code because we've been coding since. So let's run the actual code. So for me to run my actual code, I use what? PM. Okay, let's do this. I'll use PM there. So it is running. What's happening? It is crashing. Why is it crashing? It's crashing because number one, this API key has is not valid. It's not valid. So give me a moment. Let me put my API key there. So I'm going to stop sharing for now, so I can put my API key there. So give me a moment to put my API key. So where did I put my API key? Where did I put it? Okay. So now I've put my API key is ready now. So let me continue sharing my screen. So now let's run it again. Let's see what happens. It's still crashing. It's crashing. So let's debug it. Let's find out why it is crashing. Let's see why it is crashing. It is telling me it cannot find module. What module can it not find? The LAN service. So why can't it find the module? So let's see what's happening there. This is my LAN service, so you should be able to find it now. So Mr. Sama, why are you not finding my module? So let's see what's happening there. Yes, app.cxs. Let me start this again. Let's see what's happening. Cannot find module. This is really strange. This is really strange. So let's see what's happening. Let me see. I have some missing dependencies. Let's see what's happening now. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Let me import the packages one by one. So let's see if that fixes this. And see the error has changed now. The error is now the logger. So let's see what's happening.
Hello guys. Kindly use your best emoji to confirm that you can hear me. Yeah, apologies for the break in transmission. I believe we all understand it's due to network issues. So please kindly be patient with us. Stay on the call while the network issue is being rectified. So, however, I would like to engage us a bit. So I'm going to allow us unmute ourselves while I ask the questions. Okay, so you can check now that your microphone you're now enabled to turn on your microphone. So, okay, so but before I start asking the questions, I believe there are some of us on this call that have one or two questions. Say probably regarding SolveStation or the labs itself. So if you have any question, kindly go ahead. You can signify by raising your hand, then you'll be asked to unmute yourself. Okay, if we do not have any question, then I will be asking the questions. Right. So, is there anyone here who is interested in becoming purely an AI engineer? If you are, can you Oladimeji Yasir. Okay, let's await the instructor to be back.
Yeah, I'm back out. So one of the reasons why I'm working on throughout to actually set this up is because the other three agents will be building. I'm just going to give you guys the source code and we'll work with the source code. So now, look at this. Look at the question I'm asking the agents. I'm asking the agents, what is an API? I'm asking it what's in an API. So what's going to happen? So let me run it out. It has done what? This is me. This is the first time I'm starting it. So it's telling me what? It's telling me starting simple launching application. The service, this is my health check. Is the service active? The service is what is up and active. So now this is the question I sent it. And the question is simple. What? The timestamp. When you guys send this question, I sent it by what? By 10:30. This time is quite long. Because it's not even my local time, but this is where I sent it. It's a UTC time. So the info, the log level is info. Then what was the actual message? The actual message was what? What is an API? So the response, the API responded between telling me that what? An API is what? It's so. It's so. If you notice, the maximum output it gave me was what? It's quite small. But if I'm to go to ChatGPT or the actual Gemini, if I'm to ask that what is an API, it can output almost 2,000 lines for me. But yeah, I minimize it because I don't want too much information. And that is what this does. These maximum tokens, that is what it does. So I'm going to pause here for a while and answer and entertain any questions. So do you guys have any questions for me?
Someone actually raised their hand the other time. Oladimeji Yasir, yes, you can go ahead and ask a question. Thank you. Yes, you can unmute now. Oladimeji Yasir.
All right. Good morning. So my question is, well, we do know all these LLMs, they do hallucinate a lot because they want to satisfy me. Any question I'm asking, actually they want to satisfy me. Then my question is, how do we control it with this context AI that we are building so that I won't let my LLM that I'm actually building not to hallucinate? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So when it comes to hallucination is a particular problem we face with LLMs a lot. If you notice, sorry, excuse me. So now hallucinations are one of the issues we have with LLMs. So one way we can mitigate it is you restricting when you're building AI agents. You can have different type of AI agents. For example, there is an agent called your RAG, your retrieval augmented agent. What does that do? Your RAG is giving your RAG the data sets. Think of like you giving the data set. For example, like let's say a customer support agent. That customer support agent, it needs to know everything about the business, right? So it can simply be the RAG agent. So that RAG agent will have what? It will have a list of what? A list of documents. So any information it is giving you, it is going to be from those documents. So it is going to what? Limit hallucinations because it will not give you what is done in that document. Anytime you try to ask it what is done in that document, it will tell you that I do not have the information. It's as simple as that. But in a case where you are not building a RAG agent, you can easily tell it via your prompt. If you notice, when I was doing my prompting, Let's see. When I was doing my prompting, if you notice, I did my prompting here. I told you to do what? To answer the following questions clearly and what? Concisely. And I can tell you to do what? Answer it what? Honestly. If you do not know the answer, do not provide a false answer. Because I can easily add this to my prompt also. So that means if the LLM, because the truth is, these LLMs, these AI agents, they know what they are doing. They know if they are doing the wrong thing and they know if they are doing the right thing. But they are built in such a way that they try to. There's a particular statement. I don't mean to offend anyone. They call it if they are asking, kissing someone's ass. That is, anytime that person says something like yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. Anything. Oh, even if that person is wrong, yes sir, you're correct, sir, you're correct, sir. So that is how agents. I say agents, the LLMs are. Especially when you're trying to solve your mathematical questions, you tell it that am I not meant to use this? Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. Meanwhile, it is telling you the wrong answer. So does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Do you have any other questions? Please. Let's try to answer questions. No question is too small, no question is too big. Okay, if there are no questions, I'm going to take us to the next. And I told you I'm going to read about four agents. But due to the constraint of time we have now, I've limited it to 3 agents. We're reading 3 agents. So I'm going to show you the second agent I'm going to be reading. But in this one, I'm not going to be reading it from scratch as I did with this one, so you don't waste too much time. So I'm going to walk you guys through the code base and tell you why I did some things. Are you fine with that? Do you still have any questions, sir? Your hand is still up. Hello? So yes, do you have any question? Are you done with your question?
Yes, I'm done. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. So the next agent I'm going to be reading is, I've been saying rag, what does rag mean? Usually rag used to clean something for a week. No, that's not the rag I'm saying. No. Even funny how I made a slide and I'm not even. So I'm going to be reading the rag agent song. So as you can see, the source code. We already have the source code. So for those of us that would like to actually view this, all the source code will be compiled and posted on our GitHub so you can get a copy of the code. So I want to walk us through the code base. If you notice, there are some similarities. You have your config file, you have your model file, you have your services file, you have your utils file. There are some similarities. I'll need that API I just exposed. I'll need to delete API after this one. So at this config.js, you can see it is similar to what I've been doing since. The model name, the temperature, the maximum token. But in this case, I'm introducing a new thing called vector store. I'm not sure if some of us here have heard of the term vector. You have your vector quantities and your scalar quantities. Your physics teacher will tell you that your vector is something that has magnitude and direction. Blah, 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 blah. So your vector in this case, your LLMs deal with vector a lot. All your text, when you tell AI, my name is Awal, how do they understand it? They do something called tokenization. So they split all your text into something called tokens. From there, they convert it into vectors using what you're embedding. So this embedding converts your tokens into vectors. So your vectors, you don't need to worry too much about your vectors. This is not a physics class, and this is not a machine learning class. So now this top K, what does top K mean? So top K is going to return the what? The similarity. It's going to return the what? The top 3 items. The next thing I have is what? My text splitter. Because imagine this was in this case, we are dealing with what? Large files. For me not to exceed the context window, I'm going to split the text into what? Into chunks. So I'm going to split it into what? Chunks of what? Of 1,000 with an overlap of 200. So think of this like me taking, let's have a document now about 10,000 pages. So I'm going to be taking it chunk by chunk. So 2,000. So me taking 2,000 first, take another 2,000, take another 2,000. So this is what this text splitter does. So now your models, let's get into your models. So here are some models. You have your documents model, so the ID of the document and the actual content of the document. So in some cases, the content might be it might be a file part. But here it's just going to be a string because I don't want to stress us too much with IU operations. So it's just going to be a string. Then you have your what? Your metadata. The document metadata. When was the document created? Who is the author of the document? Where was it created? And so on. That is your metadata. So now your state. So you can say I call this track state. But in our previous example, I call it what? Conversation state. In our previous examples, if you check, I called it the what? The conversation state. But here I'm calling it what? Track state. It does not matter. All it matters is that you give it a state. So now the query, the actual query, the document it has retrieved, the response is generated, the citations, if there are any citations, if the query was what was successful or not, and if there are any errors. So that is what this state does. So think of it like a what? Your data structure. It's like a what? Your board. So your citations are, you know what your citations are now? Your ID, the document ID, the text, and the what? The relevant stuff. So if it's citing a particular document, because this is a RAG agent, and by RAG agent, one of the applications of RAG is your customer support. For example, you can deploy this as a WhatsApp bot. So on WhatsApp, if anybody wants to know anything about your business, so this RAG agent simply has what? It has document that tells it everything about your business, so it is able to tell you. So this citation is now the LLM citing the document, telling you that on verse something, page 20, verse 9, this is where I took the document from, page 20, verse 9. So you know that whether it is doing what, whether it is hallucinating or not, but it's going to have a citation. So now the configuration for our RAG agents. So the top thing is what? The number of what the document you receive. I can set this to 1. I can set this is 2 or 3 or 5. It depends. Then the score threshold. When you call something the threshold, that is what? The minimum score. What's the thing with vectors is that one of the reasons why we use vector is they allow us to search based on what something called similarity. And by similarity, obviously, I can ask, I was asking a question like this. Let's say I'm asking a question like, my name, or I'm asking something like, who is Awan? Obviously, the document I'm going to give it AI. So let me make this bigger so you can see. Obviously, the document I'm going to be giving AI is not going to have this question in it. But the document can have, let's say this is document. The document can have something like, Awan is software. Wow. So this people know me. I know they know me. So it's telling that Awan is a software developer and take something that does this thing. So now when I ask the AI this, when I ask my agent this, it is able to go to my documents and it's able to know that, okay, this is where I mentioned something about Awan. And it's able to do what? Because it can reason, it can think. It is a React model. Reason and act. It can reason and it can act. So it's able to think, okay, who is Awan? Okay, what is this person trying to ask? Okay, I can see Awan. Let me go to the documents. Where can I see Awan? Okay, Awan is here. Okay, this is who Awan is. And to tell me who Awan is. That is what the RAG agent is. So now this minimum threshold. What this score threshold is saying is that the relevant score was when we are talking about AI, we are talking about your what? Your probabilities. 10%, 20%, 0.9, 0.4. So the minimum threshold, let's say I want a threshold of 0.5. So anything that has a relevant score of lower than that, it tell me that it cannot find anything. So this includes citations, whether I want it to include the citations or not. For example, now in the customer support agent, I might not want to include citations because I don't want the customer to know where the agent is getting this from. I want them to think it is what? It is the human being that is talking to them. So I can set this to false. So when I set this to false, so it will not give them citations. So at this debug mode, when I want to debug it, that's what this is for. So now your RAG results. The response is LLM generated, the document is retrieved, the citations it used, then what? The metadata. So the total document, the time it took, the generation time, and the total time. So you have your document processing results. You have your actual documents, the total chunks, then the statistics, and errors if there are any errors. So that is what your model is now. So your model, if you can see, compared to what we did before, this model is quite similar but with few additions. So your services now, your RAG service. If you check your RAG service now, you have your LLM. What LLM am I using? I'm using what? The Chat Google Generative AI LLM. The embeddings, I'm using the Google Generative AI embeddings. My vector store, I'm using the memory vector store. My text splitter, I'm using the recursive character text splitter. And my documents, I'm using what? App documents. So this app document is what I created. So I'm sure we are confused because what is a vector, what is an embedding, what is a text splitter? So just think of it this way. Your LLM is your what? Your actual what? Your actual brain. It is the brain of the agent. In this case, it's what? It's the Google Generative AI, which is Gemini. In another case, you can use this. You can use your open API. Sorry, I say open API. Your open AI. In another case, you can use your what? Your Claude AI. In another case, you can use your Claude AI. You can use your Grok AI. You have dozens of AI you can use. So that is what this is saying. Then the next in this embeddings, it is telling me that, okay, the text I'm giving it, how will you convert it into a vector? Because it needs to convert it to a vector. Because it's with the vector I'll be able to search. So it's not convert it to a vector. That is what this embedding does. And the rule of thumb is that the LLM you are using, the embedding is has to be the same. Let's say you have different types of embedding. You have the one for Open AI, you have the one for Claude AI. If I'm using Claude AI embedding for Google AI LLM, it might not give me the result I want. Because the Google AI embedding has what? It has been made to do what? To fit Google AI. But I was one that created this thing. I imported it with some of the packages you have. So the next thing is that was my vector store. So your vector store, think of it like your database. So it's like your database. You have your vector DB. We have different types of database. You have your SQL database, your NoSQL database, and you have your vector, and you have your documents-based database. So your SQL-based database, that's where you have your relational database, your Postgres, your MySQL, and so on. Don't talk about your NoSQL, you have your MongoDB and the likes. So now when I'm talking about vector store now, you have your Chroma DB, you have your Elasticsearch. It's a vector store. But in this case, I'm using the memory vector store. I'm just going to use the memory now. So I'm not going to use all these external systems outside because this is a simple system. I'm using a memory vector store. So this memory vector store, for some of us here, we are familiar with your SQLite database. Your SQLite database is like your memory database now. Like a very simple database that you have. So this is the equivalent of that in your vector. So your text splitter, how is it going to split my text? It's going to split my text using what? Your recursive character text splitter. And the document, the list of documents I have. So now, the constructor. We've done this previously, so we know what this does. I'm creating my LLM. The next thing, my embed is I'm setting my embedder. Sorry? Setting my... good. Don't have a code like that. Sorry about that. So you have the embeddings. So as I said, I've been saying what does an embedder do? So it does what? It converts your text, it generates it into what? Embedders. It feeds your LLM those embedders. Once the embedders does what? Okay, let me check this. Let me see it again. So your embeddings, your embedder, anyway you call it, it turns your text into vectors. That's easier to put it. It turns it into vectors because with vectors, I'm able to do my full text search with vectors. I'm able to do my synonymous search with vectors. I'm able to do my similarity score with vectors. So if you check, so now this is actually my text filter. So I'm initializing my text filter. I'm giving it the chunk size, and I'm giving it the chunk overlap. The chunk size, and the chunk size I set was 1,000. So it's going to take like each one 1,000, 1,000, 1,000 lines, 1,000. Not sorry, 1,000 words, 1,000 words. And I'm going to tell you that the large service was able to do that. So now I have a function here called ingest documents. So I'm using this function to do to feed my agent with documents. So it's going to receive an array of documents. So these documents are exactly telling you that okay, all these are just jargons. It's like telling you that okay, come here. These are the documents I have. Okay, this is all this function does. This is what it does. It's taking the document and feeding it into that. This is the document I have. So if you check, I'm now adding the documents now to my vector. If you check the output, I think this is what I even do, so I'll know when I'm off. Let me leave this one up, so I will be seeing it. So now if you check, I was asking the AI, what is SolveStation? So it's telling me I don't have enough information to answer this question because I never told the AI what SolveStation is. So how could I fix that? I can fix that simply by doing what? By creating a document. So you can see this is an array. So let me create a new document. So I'm going to call this SolveStation information. You can see. I'm just going to follow. I'm going to follow what this AI is telling me. So let's just close this out. Well, this is wrong. This is not SolveStation. So we're a company designed to streamline program solving and decision. No, we don't do that here. We don't do that here. Sorry. And build solutions that solves real world challenges. Not just real world problems. Build solutions that solve real world problems. So let's just say that's just it. So now let me ask the AI again. Let me start it again. Let me ask the AI again. What is SolveStation? So you can see, I asked it what is SolveStation. What is it telling me now? It is telling me SolveStation is a what? Is an innovative company designed to streamline problem solving and build solutions that solve real world problems, which is the exact same thing I did what I fed it in. So this is one of the things to tell you that your RAG system, this system I just told you now, you can build this system, you can fully furnish it and sell it to a company. You can sell it to a company as it is. You just feed it with your information. Then the system is ready. The system is ready. So that is how your RAG system works. So while this is going on, do you have any questions for me? So let's entertain any question. Because I know there might be, I introduced some new concepts here. So it is normal for you guys to have questions. If you guys have any questions, please don't be scared. As I said, there's no such thing as a stupid question. All questions are entertained. So please let's ask our questions.
So you can use the raise hand reaction, and of course you can unmute yourself to speak. So you have the floor, guys.
Well, are we saying we know what the RAG system is? I'll ask you guys questions. You don't ask me question. I'll ask you guys questions. You don't ask me question. Okay, let me ask this question. Who can tell me why the RAG system is important?
Sorry, sir, the question again.
I said who can tell me why is the RAG system? Why do we need RAG? Now, what I heard someone was the RAG system, so why do we need RAG? Or is it the RAG used to clean our house?
Okay, we have someone's hand off. Aisha, you can unmute and speak.
Sorry, the RAG system, it helps to quickly identify issues and monitoring and logging.
Yeah. So I get the part where the issue comes in. But the RAG system, yes, to some extent, it helps us identify issues. But you could, okay, I'm coming. Let me, how will I say this? Let me do this thing again. Let me structure your answer again for you. So the RAG system, it allows us to give LLM access to information they don't have access to ordinarily. Because that is one of the things the RAG system. If you notice, one of the things I've been saying about RAG system is if you want to be like a customer support agent now, like a normal WhatsApp customer support agent, that people can inquire about your business, that what is SolveStation, what do they do, what is their phone number. If I'm to go to Google Gemini now and ask what is What's the SolveStation? You might not be able to tell me a detailed response. But if you build a React system and you have your documents, and those documents are like the documents telling the AI about your organization, so it allows you to retrieve. So you can. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, Mr. Yasin.
Oh, so yeah, I just want to answer the question before. So React system, as you've explained to us, is just help us to get our information based on a particular document, based on a particular set of data that we've put into the system. So when we ask the question, it doesn't let our AI to just go off, and then if it doesn't have context to that answer, just go off and bring some random answers just to hallucinate, but it will bring it based on what we've put into the system. So that's what the React system is. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that. So now, a previous idea you can have for your React system is you can do it in such a way that it's going to be like a quiz system. I'm even going to show you guys an example, which is our final project for today. So it's called studybody.ai. So it is like a React system on steroids, let me put it that way. So it is super powered. So I'm going to show you guys so that's where the actual React frontend comes in. So I'll walk you guys through the backend and also the frontend. So now there is something I would like to point out. So the thing with AI agents is that it is not language specific. I can build my AI agents in Python. I can build it in C#. I can build it in Java. I can build it in PHP. So depending on what you are used to, that's what you should build it with. But in this case, you are using TypeScript. Why are we using TypeScript? We are using TypeScript because of the ease of adoption, and because TypeScript does not require much resources, and it is beginner friendly. That's why we are using TypeScript. So now for the particular tool we are using called LangChain. LangChain supports only Python, TypeScript, or JavaScript. If it is not out of those three languages, you cannot use LangChain. But you have other tools you can use. That's that on that. So now, so let's see. The next and final thing I want us to know is the actual reason we came here today. Because I hope we've been able to, even if we find most of these things hard to grasp, it is only natural. It is only natural because this is a workshop. It is to expose you guys to what you can build with AI. It is to expose you guys to what you can build with AI. And as I said also, the repositories, this is going to be pushed to our GitHub organization. So you guys will have access to the posts. I'm going to do this on the call. So we push it to GitHub so you guys can clone the code, you can start it on our GitHub. So for you guys to go through it in case you want to replicate it at your leisure time. So now let's display our final system, ladies and gentlemen. That is all about to open. That's the content. So just give me a moment. I'm trying to. This is why I need to start naming things right. I'm not naming this thing right. I don't know. I forgot what I used to name it. What did I used to name this now? Oh, this is backend. So now I'm going to demo this to you guys now. I'm going to demo this to you guys now to show you guys that your RAG agents can be communicated with via an API. For those of us that don't know what an API is, so your API is your application programming interface. So it allows me to connect my front end to my backend. So in this case, this is the backend. It is built using Express.js. It's built using Express.js. So if you can check in this case now, you have multiple agents. You have multiple agents. So let me just walk you guys through the slide. You have multiple agents. So for this final project I'm trying to demo now, since morning we've been using a single agent. But what happens when you have your solid principle? You need to follow your single responsibility principle. So a agent, one particular agent or an agent should do one particular thing. Because if you notice, your agent is tied to what? A particular prompt. So it will make sense if I'm giving an agent like 5 different prompts, it will throw it off balance. That is why you have multiple agents. So in this code I'm going to show you, you have 4 different agents. You have your research agent, you have your content agent, you have your scheduling agent, and you have your quiz agent. So let me go back. So now the final part of today's study body return. What is it? It is your personal AI tutor. So students, it's create study plan for students. You tell it what you want to learn, you upload your materials to it, then it drafts the study plan for you, it updates your Google Calendar, then it gives you a simplified content based on the results you give to it. So if you give it about 10 results, it's going to simplify them into an easy to understand concept. To simplify it into an easy to understand concept. So we can see it auto schedule study sessions and it engages you with interactive quizzes. So now the architecture we're using here, you have your front end, you have your back end. So here I'm demoing the back end now. So then your AI orchestration, you have your line graph and your Gemini, and you have your tools. So your tools, as I said, your tools give your LLM access to additional features. So in this case, I gave my LLM 2 tools, my Google Drive and my Google Calendar. So the Google Drive allows you to do what? To upload content to my Google Drive folder. While the Google Calendar allows it to do what? To create events in my Google Calendar. So now, what was the design here? So the design here, we are using multiple agents, as I said. You have your research agent. So your research agent analyzes the material. So it's going to make research for you and also do what? Use your material. So it's going to join it together. It creates your content for you. Your content agent creates your content for you. It creates a study guide. Your scheduling agent manages your calendar. Then your quiz agent generates your question for you based on your resources. So now let me walk you guys through the backend. So firstly, there are some things you need to set up this code base. Then I believe I have a little bit here. So there are some things you need to set up to get this. Number 1, you need a database. You are using a local database, and even 2 ways. There are 2 ways for you to run this application. You can run it using Docker, or you can run it locally. So, but yeah, I'm going to run this locally for us. For those of us that don't have Docker installed. So the first thing we need is your local Postgres SQL. You need a database. That's the first thing you need. Then you can also use a cloud database if you want. Then you need your Google API credentials. The API key, I thought you guys have to create your API key. Then also need your Google OAuth credentials. So let me teach you guys how to create the Google OAuth credentials. So you go into console.google.com. So I'm coming, let me switch the account. You go into your Google account. It's just a matter of me searching. You can see this is the first time. This is the first time I'm opening Google Cloud. So it's telling me to go my country. I'm in Nigeria. Then I'm accepting the terms and conditions. Then the next thing, I want you to search OAuth. What is that OAuth? Then you click OAuth. Then you can see it's telling me to create a project because this is the first time. So let me create the project. So I'll just use this name. So now my OAuth, I'm going to create my OAuth song. So the essence of this OAuth is that it is needed for me to communicate with Google APIs. Example of such Google APIs is the Google Calendar, the Google Sign-in, the Google video, anything Google. I need this OAuth to be able to communicate with it. So it is very easy. So I just come here, I create credentials. Then I create what OAuth client ID. So it's telling me to create an OAuth client ID. I need to configure my what? My consent screen. And the consent screen, if you notice, anytime you are trying to sign in with Google, it will tell you that do you want this particular site to access this particular set of information? So that's where your consent screen is on. So let me just do that. So the app name, let me call it StudyBody. StudyBody.ai. So the support role, this is the support role. The next, someone needs to go out. External. So currently your audience, one of the securities Google has is they don't allow you to just access anybody's account anyhow. So they allow you to add test users. So when you're ready to go live, you publish when you publish it, then to allow anybody to just log in. But in this case, you are using external, so I need to add some test users. So my contact information, let me just put my normal email. This is my contact information. Then I finish. So it's as easy as that. And I can see that we're able to create that for me. So now let me go back to my clients. So create a new client. The application type. This is a web application. So it is a web application. You can give it a name you want. So now you need to set in your authorized JavaScript origin. So since this is my local development, so let me just copy this. I didn't give you guys this, so I'll copy this. I'll paste this here, but this has to be my words. It just has to be my words. My ports. Then I need to paste in my words, my direct URL. So my direct URL is this. Then as easy as that, I'll just create. So you can see that I've created this for me. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete it because I'm not using it. So I've created that for me. So now, let me delete this so no one uses it. For some reasons, I'm having it deleting it. So now I'm not to waste you guys' time. I can change the password. I'll change the password of the client side. So once you have those credentials, you go into your what? Your .tmv.example, you can see. You paste in your what? Your Google client ID. You paste in your Google client secrets, and you paste in your what? Your direct URL. Sometimes just give me a moment. I want to delete that because the security. You don't share your secrets with anybody. You don't. Yeah. So I'm back now. I've been able to delete that. So let me share my screen. Sorry about that. But please, those stuff are credentials. You don't share them with anybody. They are secrets. You don't share those secrets with anybody. Just like an API key. Even if you feel, I'm not paying money for it now, they are sensitive informations. That is why I have to delete it on the call now, just in case I forget. So anybody that tries to use that will not work for the person because that's deleted. That's really good. So if you check now, this is your ENV file. You need to change all these things. Then the file, these are the file types I support. You support PDF files, your docs, your Microsoft Word, and your normal text file. Then the file size is 60 MB. That is the maximum file size. Then your ports, this is running for 5,000. So basically, once you guys go through this, I've basically documented what you need to run this project. I've documented everything you need to run this project. So now let me start the application. So PM dev. Let me start the application. Okay. You can see what's happening. It's telling me that this connection close. So I need to, there's a particular dependency I need here, which is Redis. So let me run this Redis service. But I need this Redis. But without Redis, my caching will not work. So my Redis is running now. So you can see that I'm able to connect successfully to my Redis. So let me just start everything again from the beginning. So let me clear the screen. So let's start again. So you can see I have my login here. So you can see it's telling me the backend server is running. So this is the documentation. So as you can see, this is my Swagger documentation. So now let me walk you guys through the API. So let me create a new user. So let's say this is I want the logo, let's say 87@gmail.com. And let's say that's the password. So let me execute. So as you can see, you have this. So my API key, let me copy that. Let me paste it here. So I have that. So the next thing I need to do is what? I need to authenticate my Google. My Google has to be authenticated. So I need to set up my words. So execute it. So I need to copy this link now. I'll copy this link down and I'll paste it. That it's telling me to choose an account. So let's say let me choose this account. And see what it's saying. Access block. And while as well completed the Google registration step. You know why I'm getting this error? I purposely did this so I can show you guys something. Because this app is not published yet. So Google does not allow just anybody to do this. So it is telling me I need to add this person, this particular account. I need to add it as something called a test user. And how do I add a test user? It's very easy for you to add a test user. So let me go back to my cloud.google.com. Let me go back to my cloud.google.com to show you guys how to add a test user because these are issues you encounter. So let me search words. I'm going to search words. Then I'm going to go there. Then I can see study body. I have study body here. Then I go into branding. Go into branding. So under branding, you scroll down. Okay, so I'm coming. All of these places. So you can see I'm currently in my works in testing stage. If I publish the app, I'll need to submit it to Google for verification so they will confirm whether I'm trying to do any malicious stuff or not. But if I'm not ready to publish it, I'm still in testing now. So I can add a test user here. I'll just click on add test user. Then the email of the person you want to add. Then save. So this is as that. So the person has been added as a test user. So let me start this again. So now let me choose that same account. So you can see it's telling me Google hasn't verified this app. So it is running the person that Mr. Man, you know what you're doing? I've not verified this app yet too. But since this is I'm doing now, so I'll just say continue. Then it's going to ask you for what? For some services. You need to request for some services. So it needs access to what? Google Drive. It also needs access to your calendar. So continue. So you can see I have this code. All I need to do is what I need to copy this code. This particular code, I need to copy it. Come back here. Then I come here. Then I paste the code here. Then I authorize. Then you can see my Google account has been connected successfully. As simple as that. So now let me see, do I have any study plans? You can see I have no study plans. So let me create a study plan. So let's say I want to learn something like digital marketing. Let's say that's what I want to learn. So the level is bigger, and I have let's have 4 days to learn because I want to quickly learn it. So materials, I don't have any materials on digital marketing, so let me search digital marketing video. I want to see if I can get any material. Okay, you can see I've got some material. Ultimate guide to digital marketing. So let me download that file. It's a waste of time. Let me just download. Where is it download now? This open link in account. So let me open this. This is some pages. Let's see if we need to load people. So you can see this one has finished loading. So let me save this. So I'm going to save this as okay. Let me leave it here. Okay. So this one has finished loading. So let me save it. I'll save it here. So now there are some materials. Those are the materials I have. So just for me to come here. The two materials. I just saving it like this now. I want to take the two materials at once. How many? Give me a moment. Okay. Okay, I think I see what it is. It's about some I will need to teach you, bro. But you can upload many materials, sure. That's just so let me upload the second one. Wait, that's the same material. Let me upload another one. So let's upload this one. Online marketing. So I've uploaded the two materials. So there's something else you guys should pay attention to now. Look at my logs. You can see this was when I created the user. This was when I added the account. I created it. So let's see. When I execute, hope you guys are still paying attention to me. One magic wants to happen now. I want us to pay attention to that magic. When I click execute, what happens? The LLM has done what? It has extracted the text, then it has split it into what? Into 5 segments. And it's now processing what? The research agents. Did I call the research agents? No. The research agent has done what? It has started working. So it is processing those chunks. You can see this is what? 2 out of 5. It's processing the 7 out of 5. So it is processing 2 out of 5. So let's see. So that's processing. It's processing the third one. But it's split it because the files are what? They are quite large. So it's split it into chunks. So it is processing it what? Into chunks. So this is 3 over 5. So if you now check my uploads, these are the files I've uploaded. This is 4 over 5. There's something I want us to check. So it doesn't look like calendar.google.com. I want us to check my Google Calendar. This is 4 over 5. It is currently in the last page. So let me switch the accounts to SolveStation accounts. So you can see it is generating PDF. It is generating the PDF. It has done what? It has created a drive folder. Then it has done what also? It has generated 4 study sessions. It has created my calendar events on me. So now look at this. So let me refresh the page. What is this? It has created this for me. It is giving me focus area. Now what I will learn today, you will learn what is digital marketing, you learn this. And that's also uploaded, it has created a new material for me. And I've uploaded it to my what, Google Drive. So let's check that Google Drive now. Let's see what's happening. So you can see, was this file here before? No, it was not here before. It was generated by what? By the AI. So it's broke down. Those 2 documents, it's broken down into what simpler source for me. It's telling me what digital marketing is. It broke down everything. Did I tell it to do it? No. The agent did it unconsciously. So this is the second part. So now if you check your study plans down, so you can see all your resources. It has access to all your resources. So let's say I want to chat with this particular bot. So I can get this study plan. Let's say I want to chat now, like a normal chat. So I'll just put in my study plan idea. So to be chatting with him based on what those documents, like your RAG. I can now ask it. Let me ask it the question like, what is digital marketing? Let's see if you have that in. So I'll ask it. I want to ask the RAG stuff. What is digital marketing? Then the mode. There are currently 3 modes. You have your chat mode, you have your quiz mode. So I'm going to use the chat mode here. So I'm going to ask it what is digital marketing. So when I execute, what happens? Let's see what happens. It has done what? Look at what he's saying. I have studied body, your friendly AI tutor, and I'm here to help you dive into the existing world of digital marketing. Digital marketing is essentially about promoting products or services using the internet and online-based digital technologies. So you can see it's going into this to formulate what it knows what I'm talking about. It has the context. So it's going into this to formulate whatever it means. Then I can continue talking to this because it has my chat history. Look at it. Look at this current chat history. This is my chat history. So now let me ask you another question. I want to ask you like, why is this important? So look at this one, look at the response. That's a fantastic question. Understanding why something is important is key to grasping it. Digital marketing is incredibly important today because you can see. Then look at my chat history. You can see that's updated my chat history. So as simple as that, this is what study body is. Yes, once I get my resources, I can easily get on my resources. I can paste my study plan ID there. I can see all the resources I have. These are the two resources I uploaded to it. Then this is the simplified version it's created for me. So now, I'm sure you are wondering what is going on here. So let's just do a quick walkthrough of the code base. So you have your agents. I have about 4 agents. I have the tutor agent, I have the scheduler agent, I have the research agent, I have the compiler agent. Trust me, you guys will enjoy this code base. We took time here to document everything step by step. So even so we can understand this one by one, we documented everything step by step. So now, do you guys have any questions for us?
Let me just first say well done to the instructor. Thank you very much for the insightful session on the AI. So I believe we've learned a lot here, and you agree with me that in the real world classroom, you cannot tell us you understand something without asking questions. And if you don't ask questions, the examiner is going to give you exams to test your knowledge. So also, for the best students, there's always a kind of reward, right? So even though that was not mentioned at the beginning, so there's a reward in form of stuff to, of course, that will be announced after this session, this QA session, right? So there is a reward in form of scholarship, let me put it that way, from SolveStation LABS. So we're enjoying you to ask questions. And if you don't have any, just about 2 questions will be asked. And anyone who answers correctly would probably be winning the gift. Thank you. Over to you, one.
Well, thank you. You can ask a question.
Adif Abdurrahman. Yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon. Hello, can you hear me?
Good afternoon, sir.
So I wanted to ask. I think you mentioned that LangChain is not supported by other programming languages like C#. So I wanted to ask if there are any alternatives to it if I want to use C# to program it.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So yes, I said LangChain is restricted to the JavaScript and Python ecosystem. Well, if you notice, LangChain is it's a framework. It is not a rule. So you can write your own custom solution. For now, as for my knowledge, I don't think you have any, or let me check. But I don't think you have any tool that does such in C#. But it does not stop you from building agents in C#. You can actually write your own library. The sky is the limit. You can write your own library. Once you study the way I'm coming, let me see if I can share something. Not just I wanted to share something now. This is a content, this is anything. So now let's see. I can actually go into the library, the launcher library, this launcher library. I can go into it and I can study it. I can study it myself to check what is going on. I can study, okay, what is going on here, what's going on here. Then I can do what? Take what I need from this library and turn it into my what? Into the C# equivalent. You get? So that's one of the things with these libraries. That is one of the things why they are beautiful. But let me check, bro. The last time I checked, I don't think we have any that's not such. But let me check. Building AI agents in C#. Oh, you have one. It is called Microsoft.semantic kernel. Oh, it's always going to be Microsoft. It's always going to be Microsoft. Wow. So you can see using this semantic kernel, you can build your own agent in .NET.
So sorry,
And
let me also add that with the upcoming version of C#.NET, so the Microsoft or the .NET community is also providing a way, okay, like a how do I put it, a basic way, very just like LangChain is, you can say easy to integrate it when it comes to Python, TypeScript, right? So, but this one is something that you can easily integrate it with when it comes to the C#.NET ecosystem. So, so you see that with AI, like the instructor already said, the sky is just your starting point. You can decide to build yours. You can also leverage on the one that's already built into the ecosystem. So, and that's what makes some particular tool general purpose. You understand? You see that the C# programming language has always evolved, and what's it called? They have always set themselves up to be the language of the future. You understand? So you can do your research to learn about those, right? So by following the community, you understand? Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
so do you have any other questions? While we answer questions, I'm trying to put this to GitHub so we can all have a copy of the code. I need to give it this so it does not get to everything. Does not get to everything. So just give me a moment. So now while these are working, so let me go back to my presentation. But I didn't really follow this slide, bro. We're able to be the RAG agent. Then I was able to show you guys the study body in action. So now, what have we achieved? We started from the basic using by building normal your chat LLM, able to use your chat LLM. From there, we built a rack system. From the rack system, we now built a production ready system. So permit me for not being able to show you guys the front end for the study body AI. But I was able to say the backend, and the backend, I believe the backend was more than enough. So but the front end was built using React. So now, what are the lessons we've learned here? You start simple, then you scale. So your tools, those tools are what? Your agent superpower. So they give your agents what? Additional functionalities. Then your orchestration. So your line graph orchestrates. It does what? When something is orchestrating, it controls like when this is done, you do this. When you are done, do this. Or when you are done, do this. Like it orchestrates the events. Then your type safety pays dividends in what? Reliability. If I did something like JavaScript to do this, it will work. But I will be crying right now. Why will I be crying? I will run into a lot of issues. That's number one. Lots of issues. I'll run into a lot of issues, which my intelligence will not be able to cover. So what are the next steps? So you guys should close the code and try to run it locally. If you add your own custom tools to it, then if you have any questions, you can reach out to us here at SolveStation to answer your question. Then finally, your SolveStation, whether you have any solution to build your SolveStation, we are divided into three major sectors. We have the labs, the SolveStation labs, then we have our SaaS part, then we also have our consultancy. So the last part, we learn, apply, build, and study. So the last part is our platform, which is similar to Udemy. It allows us to. Let me share my screen. Let me share my screen so I can demo the labs to you guys. Can you just give me a moment?
Okay, so good afternoon once again. I believe we have gone past due time, and yeah, this is the last lap of the whole webinar. So we want to present to you SolveStation Labs, right? Again, I want to just emphasize on one key point concerning what SolveStation Labs is all about. We all know what SolveStation does based on the description that has been given to us already, right? So, but the labs part of it actually stands for, it's an acronym which stands for learn, apply, build, and succeed. Very saw that on the introduction part of this webinar. Now, what makes our approach different from Udemy is the fact that you are not given a pre-recorded course to go through, right? So while you onboard with this current cohort, we have, of course, the first cohort, and of course, there has been a very significant, a very significant change with the approach to this new platform to accommodate the incoming cohorts, which starts from now. So is that the difference is that while you have access to courses, assignments, and the likes, which is not the same way with Udemy, also because you have things like leaderboard, streaks, how you yourself can see your performance as you are doing, right? You also have access to live classes. Even though we won't recommend that you miss classes, we want you to always be live. I mean, available while the live classes are going on. So, but if for any unavoidable reason you are going to miss the class, right? You have the recorded session to go over again, and also you have access to reach out to the instructor of a particular course that you have signed up for at the beginning to guide you through. Say probably you have a particular issue understanding the concepts, right? So you can do that. So also on the platform, you have quizzes that are graded. You also have quizzes that are like pop-up quiz to reinforce your learning on what you've done so far, right? Now, to sign up, I believe most of us here have actually signed up on the wait list. And I've also joined or requested to join our wait list WhatsApp group, right? So the way it works is once you sign up for a particular course, you are expected to gain access to that course by paying a very small amount of money to gain access to the course. But like I said, for those of us that are on this call, you not just those that are on this call, but I mean there are some special package for people that are on this call. So but let me just basically put aside the the special package. So you have access to scholarship, right? We have 25% and we have 50% scholarship, right? A code will be given to you if you are actually qualified for that scholarship, which you'll be entering upon registration, okay, to access a particular course. Then, of course, you know what it means. If you are supposed to pay, say, 50K for a particular course, and you get 50% scholarship, that means you'll be paying 25,000 naira, right? So, I think the course with the highest number of months is 4 months, and for such a course, you have at least 2 months to 3 months internship period, of course, which you are not going to pay for. You're only paying for the course to have a proper knowledge on it. And I also want to acknowledge that there are some of us on this call, but if you are not, you can signify that are actually new to the entire thing that is being shown to us today. Do not fear, and do not run because of that. So you have to this will give you an insight to, okay, because what leads to knowledge actually should start from your curiosity. If you are curious enough to want to go deep down and understand things, so where you will be told to go to is back to the basic. So, and the first step to knowledge is I don't know. Yeah, some of us don't know, right? But it's good that you don't know. And because sometimes knowledge could be an illusion. In what sense? Let's assume this class was theoretical. You think you know everything because you're able to follow through, you know all those technical jargon I was mentioned, what is RAG, what is AI, what is machine learning, blah, blah, blah. But in actuality, you don't really know it. Why? Because you have not practiced. That is why we are telling you that aside all those features I mentioned, what SolveStation Labs all about is practical knowledge. Because practical knowledge compared to theoretical knowledge you cannot actually put them on the same scale, right? Because while you have the practical knowledge, it is easier for you to explain something that you know practically. Now, supported with your theory or theoretical knowledge of it, you are better than someone that only knows theory. You understand? Because one thing is we balance the two together. One thing is to know how to do this thing practically. Another thing is to be able to explain it, okay, to break it down in the simplest form for people to understand. So that is what we represent here at SolveStation Lab. The platform is intuitive. This is just a demo. By the time it is ready, it will be sent to us or the public URL will be shared. You also see it on our social media platforms. On promotion, then you can start signing up. Select the course you want to learn, and you can go on from there. So, Awal, if Awal, you can add your own, and then after that, we'll entertain questions. But like I said, I have 2 questions, right? Or maybe I should make it 3. So only 3 persons that is able to answer it properly have a gift, like I said, in form of scholarship. And let me add that if you feel, oh, okay, I don't need this scholarship, you can give it to just, of course, one person, because one question carries only one prize.
Thank you very much, Center. As my boss here said, so for the SolveStation Labs, one thing we noticed in particular was, yes, we're in the digital media, you can learn tech anyway. You can sit in front of the system and learn tech. But you actually need some sort of mentorship, someone to guide you. Because we're in a world where Access to information is not restricted. You have unlimited access to information. But how do you make access? How do you make sense of those information? That is what labs does. Yes, we teach you. We also review, we open your eyes to different resources you can use in order to better yourself as a developer. Yeah, as we said earlier also, the workshop we had now is an extension of the labs. For you guys to have a look and feel of what the labs are doing. So that's just the little contribution I have. Then one of the branches you have here also is our solutions also, we have a consultancy unit. So in case if there are any workflows you want to build or any solutions you want to build, you can reach out to us via mail. You can reach out to us via mail at hello@solvestation.tech or solvestationlimited@gmail.com. So you can contact us using these two emails and even if it is concerning the workshop, if you have any questions, you can email us your questions. We'll do what to respond to them. So thank you guys so much. I'll be sending the GitHub link soon. I'm trying to push the code. So that's all from my side. You can have it.
Okay. So I have the 3 questions. So I'm going to say the first one, and if you know the answer, you can simply raise your hand and be allowed to speak. So the first question is, what is the primary goal of artificial intelligence? What is the primary goal of artificial intelligence? We have just 10 seconds for someone to respond. Otherwise, we'll move to the next one, then to the next. Yes, Balkis, you can unmute and speak.
All right. Good afternoon, sir. I
Good
think
afternoon.
the primary goal of AI is just to create tasks that human intelligence can perform, like solving problems and to make processes more efficient.
Okay. Is there anybody that has a contrary opinion before we move to the second question? All right, thank you, Balkis. I'm going to move to the next question. Retriever augmented generation, which is RAG, right? So what is the main purpose of RAG? Or say, what is the main purpose of the retriever component? Yes, largely Abdulkohab.
Yeah, the main purpose for RAG in our AI applications is to give context and memory to our AI.
Cool. Okay, so I'm just going to say it. So far, Balkis, you won one of the prize. If you want to use it yourself, but do send a message to make sure you join the wait list, so we can get a message from there. The same goes for Olajide Abdulkohar as well. So the last question, but not the least.
I want something. I answer the question.
The third question is based on large language models, right? Large language models. So the question is, what is a large language model primarily trained to do? If you have answered a question before, you can answer. Yeah, okay. Yes. Yeah, yes. Go ahead and speak. Answer the question.
So the LLMs are just there to solve our major problem, just like a context problem that, okay, I asked that, okay, I want to solve this particular problem. Just like basic examples that we do use day to day is the ChatGPT and all those stuff that we can just ask question that, okay, help me through with this, then just go to the internet, help brief some stuff that will help you to solve the particular problem. Yeah.
Okay. I will give you that. Yeah. So Yasir, also I believe you are already, like I said, for you to claim these gifts, these scholarship gifts, and at this point I'm going to unveil it. So for these three people that have actually answered this question, whether they decide to use it for themselves or decide to give it to others, okay, it's actually 100% scholarship. That's the gift package. I posted in because when you take exams, you wouldn't know what would be the consequence of getting a distinction. Let me put it that way. Or maybe at the end of the day, oh, you came out with a distinction, and so you might even know what the school is going to give you, but you might end up getting more than that. Say there is a particular body that say, oh, want to give the first class students, overall best students, this and that. So that's why it is the way it is. So congratulations to Balkis, Yasir, and Abdulkoha, right? So like I said, do join the wait list, and as you can send a message to the group admin from there. So we'll contact you. And as for every other person on this call, once the platform is open, you have access to get the 25% or 50% scholarship. Okay. So thank you all for joining this session. I hope to see you on the greater side of life. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much, sir. So the link to the repository will be sent to the group chats for the wait list. Is that you guys?